All right, vibes are back on the up and up. I had to leave, but I met some friends after I just put that guy in his place. As I was leaving, I just gathered my shit. Vibes went bad. Anyway, another guy, this guy starts, it's almost like he wanted to get my number and get my autograph. Guaranteed, he's back there going, that guy's a fucking legend. He's like, where do you live? You from around here? I said, yeah, Springville. He said, he showed me. He's like, yeah, us too. We come up Hobble Creek Canyon. That was weird. I thought someone threw a rock at me. Something hit the ground right beneath my feet. But I've got another video that I will include the link in the description of this one and that last one where I gave that guy a piece of my mind. Because he did the same thing that this libtard in Oregon did. Hey, get that camera out of here. In a public place. Literally today, High Impact Flicks posted a video of someone doing the same shit in the post office. And right there in the post office, the police said, well, yeah, you got the right to film in here. That's a constitutionally protected activity that you're engaged in. What people are doing is compensating. It's the complianceocracy of California that I've explained before. They've lost so much control over their own lives. The way they regain some feeling of control or any authority is to control someone else's life. And I noticed it a long time ago in California, the complianceocracy culture, where people are rewarded and promoted according to their ability to comply with regulations or to extract compliance out of others. And what happens is because in California, everywhere you go, there's regulations. Do this, don't do that, can't you read the sign? Signs everywhere, fucking up the scene. Polluting my mind or something like that, we'll put that in there too. But because they have to comply with all these regulations and they're being told all day, every day what to do and what not to do, they want to tell someone else what to do and what not to do. Because we live in a surveillance state where you're filmed, oh, I don't know, what, 1,000 times a day on 1,000 cameras, the average person 500 times or some shit like that. It's right here that I'm going to say, get that camera out of here. Because everywhere else I go, I know I'm like under a microscope. I'm going to do this. But what that was the same thing as that libtard. Exercising control over someone else's life. You see, that's what libtards do. Emotionally unstable people say that you need to change your behavior until I feel okay. And if I'm offended, then you're doing something wrong. Until I feel okay, you need to keep moderating your behavior in order that I can feel okay. Emotionally unstable people demand that everyone around them change their behavior until that person feels emotionally secure and okay and not offended. And the more offended I am, the more wrong of something you did. And until I'm not offended and I feel okay, you're doing something wrong because I don't feel okay. Bit of a combination of that, but that was an older dude. So presumably not a libtard. He said he's been coming here for a long time. This ain't a libtard culture. That was a guy who's feeling the pressure. It's called harboring and transference. And now that we're all under a lot of regulation, guaranteed that motherfucker's been wearing the mask for the last year. And that's the only reason he would lash out like that. If he was able to stand his ground and assert control and authority over his own life, he wouldn't want to try and control someone else's. But that's what happens. We compensate for that inner void. We overcompensate for it. The other thing he was doing, or that people do that generally match that behavior. Hold on, we got company. Yeah, it's about 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so people have done this. I've noticed it. It's a behavioral pattern I've noticed. Probably compensating for a time in their life when they had the opportunity to really be the hero and really apply a solution to a problem, but they didn't. And so they try to compensate for that by fabricating a scenario, an artificial scenario, where they identify, there's the villain, there's the victim, and I'm going to play the hero. Because when there really was a villain and there really was a victim, you cowered. And instead of playing the hero in the real world, you create a fantasy world, fabricate a scenario where you get to play the hero. In that case, he was declaring himself the victim, but oftentimes they declare, everyone else here is the victim, and I'm just keeping you from you villain, and I'm protecting all these victims here. You put that camera away, and I'm saying it on behalf of all these other people that you're victimizing. A straw man scenario where you create an artificial version of the character, like in an argument. You see politicians do this all the time. They respond to a statement that wasn't made or answer a question that wasn't asked. As if you just said that or made that statement or asked that question. No, answer the question I asked. They create a straw man version of you that asks some other question, and they answer that question. In this case, they create a straw man version of you that's invading my privacy. My space. What was it? Hot spring etiquette. He was trying to take me, you're invading my space, and diffuse it to everyone. The hot spring etiquette. You owe it to everyone here to not do what you're doing. Right? Right, everyone? Hot spring etiquette, right? We're under such pressure, harboring the frustration of the pressure we've been put under for the last year during this collective initiation, humiliation, degradation, belittling, controlling you, micromanaging your life, every aspect of your life, to the point where when he gets in that situation right there, he harbored all that frustration and then transferred it onto me. You're the reason I feel the way I do. God damn it, stop filming. I'm calling the cops. I'll bet you got lots of warrants. I'm gonna call the ranger. Warrants? What kind of lunacy is that? What would make him think I got lots of warrants? So that's what that was. The link in the description shows another version of a kid half his age actually flexing nuts like he's gonna come beat my ass. He said, do I have to come over there and tell you that again? By the time I said, and I calmly said, this is one of those guys who wants to make someone out to be the villain, someone else to be the victim so he can play the hero. And then I unleashed on him and he knew I'm a lot more serious than you. You're living an illusion. LARPing libtard bitch gets his ass handed to him, or something like that is the title of that video. So I don't mean to scare anyone, like, I don't know if I want to go to the hot springs with you, man. You fucking snap, and you got a short fuse. Just a young gun with a quick fuse? You damn right. And that's where I'm gonna go with this next. That's assertive. Yeah, I got a little aggressive. For the most part, that was assertive. See, people tell me, they're like, oh, cringe, cringe. It's unbecoming when you get personal and call people out. Like that MGTOW incel piece of shit monk farmer. Oh, cringe, cringe, don't get personal. Because we live in a society where everyone is so passive, anything less than passive, they think it's aggressive. I'm teaching by way of example. It's okay to be assertive. There's a lot of gray area between passive and assertive, and most people don't even get up past passive. You get a little bit past passive, and they're like, oh, you're being aggressive, that's unbecoming, that's not necessary, that's cringe, cringe. They don't even get up to the point of being assertive. And then there's a lot more gray area between assertive and aggressive. Was I aggressive with him? A little bit. He deserved it. But in this arena of information warfare, people are like, oh, I think you should have just handled that with that person offline between you and them through an email. That ain't the way this works. Like James True said, I'm gonna take your ass down, buddy. Because when I do, I know there's someone else watching that's gonna see how foolish you look for thinking you know something. There's other people, I'm doing my job. Don't tell me how to do my job. For the most part, people who want to tell me how to do my job is because they've never done anything. I will take criticism from people who have done something because they might know a little something about how to do something. I'm building a house here, and there's people who have never laid one brick on top of another that tell me, oh, no, you should do this. Oh, no, you're doing it wrong, you should do it the other way. They're compensating for their own inadequacy because they haven't lived up to their full potential and actually created anything. They want to tell me that what I'm creating, I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong a better way. So, I'm building a house here. I'm not going to take advice or criticism from someone who's never put one brick on top of another. I am sharpening some people's stone. Most people run around only polishing each other's stones. Oh, if you're gonna blow smoke up someone's ass, blow some sunshine up their ass, then you can talk about a person. But if you're actually gonna reprimand them and show us a behavior pattern that's unbecoming, that actually leads toward a society where we're all a bunch of sheep and think it's polite to not say anything, don't say anything when you see someone who's demonstrating behavior patterns that are culturally corrosive. No, don't point at that person and speak about it. Just speak generally, philosophically, theoretically, in vague general terms. Don't speak specifically about a specific person. Everything is personal. This thing we're doing is personal, and to use people as an example is the way to teach a lesson. Teaching in hypotheticals and theoreticals doesn't go as far as pointing out an individual's behavior and saying, see that? This is what motivates him. This is where he's actually coming from. This is what he feels inside. And it's because at some other time in his life, he chose to bow down and put a mask on his face. So he wants to control someone else's behavior because he's lost so much control over his own life. He wants to reassert some sort of authority control over someone's life, so he's going to tell you what to do. Excuse me, you're out of line. You know, hot spring etiquette. I noticed this in California. I'll like walk into a gas station. Someone will be like, oh, sir, that's employees only over there. And I'm like, are you an employee here? No, but it says right there. So you took it upon yourself to enforce the company policies of this gas station that you're here as a customer at? They want to enforce some sort of regulation and control over someone else's life because they are under such regulation and control and have lost all control over their own life. It's pretty simple, straightforward math. In this time of complianceocracy, I got another few minutes. In this time of complianceocracy, it's ramped up, amplified to the point where that old bastard is saying, oh, bet you got lots of warrants. Has he lost his mind? Is there anything logical or rational or reasonable about that? Should I not have smoked his ass like I did and put him in his place? Next time, he might not get off so easy. He might run into someone else who's harboring a lot of anger, frustration, and looking for a place to transfer it. And he won't get off as easy. I just let him know, here's the real deal, old man. You're gonna get yourself hurt. You keep running your mouth like that. You don't know me. Warrants? So that's pretty judgmental, ain't it? So I think I've pretty much made my point. Hold on, I'm on the highway to the danger zone. It's getting a little rocky is all I'm saying. I need to watch my footing. So, I promise I won't educate anyone while we're together. But no, I don't promise that at all. I don't make promises because I always do what I say I'm going to do. I'm non-committal that way. I won't make a commitment and say, yeah, I'll do something, because once I say, oh yeah, I'll do something, then I have to. I don't need to say the words I promise. Everything I say is a promise. And so the reason that I said all the things I did when I was walking away about what he was doing, so that everyone else could hear what I was saying. That guy is trying to play the hero and trying to identify someone as the villain and someone else as the victim so he can play the hero. And he's compensating for a time in his life when in the real world where there's an actual problem, he decided to duck and dodge and take the easy way out, the low road, what's more convenient and comfortable. And he feels like a little weasel. So he's gonna stand up and be a real man and say, don't you, I'll show you. Oh, really? So I said what I said in front of all those people to identify that behavior pattern that we're seeing here and what's really going on and why that guy acts the way he does. and what he's trying to compensate for, and all those people that just watch that will be able to identify the same behavior pattern when they see someone else doing it and go, oh yeah, I do recognize this pattern. This is exactly what that guy was saying about someone making one person out to be the villain and someone else to be the victim so they can play the hero. In this case, he was making himself out to be the victim. And there's a reason to use these people as an example when they behave this way and call them out personally, not in generally, speak in general terms, philosophical, theoretical hypotheticals. Real world application of these understandings when the opportunity arises. So now I guess I'm going to have to lay into somebody to give you an example of what I mean. I don't really want to lay into him yet, but maybe I'll cut the video right here depending on how this goes. Daniel. Why did you erase all of your content on your YouTube channel? I'll tell you why. So you could keep collecting donations from subscribers. And I'm out here on the front lines, and you had some video of the Black Dot Craft, TR3B, call it what you will, right above the cathedral on the day that it got zapped. You know, the same cathedral that I filmed the portal that goes down into and extracted those images and show you some things that you can't quite explain. Let me tell you what, that's just as real as the sun tunnel, the airborne aircraft carrier with the triangular craft 2x2x2x2, the Black Dot craft that are hovering over my head in Pleasant Grove, and the plasma fires. That cathedral images that I showed you is just as real as those black dot hovering in the sky in Pleasant Grove that I call plasma-powered Thunderbirds. Just as real as the sun tunnel and the 4 craft that are transiting through the sun tunnel. That portal in the cathedral is just as real as the plasma fires. Hold on, this is getting... Woo! Check that shit out. That was like truly hairy right there. And so while I'm out here on the front lines, and you were the only one talking about underground lightning at the time, and you had some videos that I was using as links in my description to compound the educational material that I've put out in the library and the volumes of information that I've compiled at a time when other people are getting censored, like I did when I took the video of the sun tunnel and they wiped out my whole channel. All 555 subscribers and a couple hundred videos, wiped out, all of them. Unprecedented level of censorship, even by today's standards. And that was happening then. To me, it happened that one time to me before we had entered this phase of censorship. Because if we had entered that phase, I wouldn't have erased that from my phone. I would have expected they might take this down, and I would have backed it up on a second file. And at a time when everyone else is getting censored and having their freedom of speech taken, you do it to yourself. You empty out your own bank account. In this economic boom we're going through, all wealth is knowledge and all economic growth is learning, and you had a big bank account and you emptied that shit out. It's like James True says, are you gonna stand? Are you gonna stand, point and stand guard, man your post? Or are you gonna help everyone out by going back to the barracks and keeping it warm in there by adding your body heat and going back there and getting under the covers just to help keep everyone warm? And that must be what you were doing. You were emptying out your bank account of all the truth that you'd put out before because you have something even more important that they need to hear in the future. These grand ideas that you're coming up with now and hiring someone to help you with your production while telling me you should put all your content through a video editor. Thanks for the advice, but that's not helpful. You want to actually do something, I've sent you the original still frames of the sun tunnel. You wouldn't even have to put it through a video editor. You just do like every other YouTuber out there, a screen share with your little mouse, and you point at the stuff on the screen while you narrate. I don't have that ability. I've never gotten onto my YouTube page from a laptop or a desktop. Everything I've done is through this phone. But you're busy hiring some sort of production assistant. When you're in possession of those images of the sun tunnel and the four craft that are transiting through it, and the best thing I have is these Ken Burns effect images and filming phone to phone, and you're telling me, well, I can see the stuff you're talking about, but I'm pretty sure there's other people that can't. So you should put this all through a video editor. You should. Otherwise, you should shut your mouth. And that's how it's done. And we live in a society where everyone's so passive, they think that being assertive... I should probably not yell. These guys got a boxer and I might scare their dog. So let me hold the phones for a minute. Is it gonna pop? So whatever reason you give yourself right now, Daniel, I can assure you, you will not give yourself the same reasoning 20 years into the future or when you're looking down from 20 light years above. When you're no longer attached to this person that you are, which is what happens when we put 20 years between ourselves and something we did in the past. Oh, I'm not that person anymore. So yeah, I can look at myself and the things I did and acknowledge the reason I really did it. At the time I was saying, oh, I'm doing it for this reason, I'm doing it for that reason. 20 years later, you can look back on yourself and acknowledge and admit what you really did and why you really did it. Because you're not attached to that moment of that person. You've changed. That's not the person I am, that's the person I was. Or when you're 20 light years above, looking down, that's not the person you am, that's the person you was. And when you're no longer attached to this life of Daniel Alexander Cannon and trying to defend everything he did as if it's legitimate and justified and noble and honorable and dignified, you're going to acknowledge that what you did was unacceptable. In this time of psych warfare, when we're on the brink of this world going one way or another, and you call yourself a truther who's on the front lines, and you empty out your bank account, you drop all your ammunition. Oh, because I have something more important that I need to tell the people in the future, and I don't want them to strike my channel. Oh, I'm sure the Spirit told you to do that, right? I sent you a $1,000 check. It came back in the mail. You saw that. I showed you the photos. You know damn well it got to your post office. God sent it back to me. Oh, what, God had nothing to do with that? You think? I'm almost to the end of the trailhead here, and we got some more people up here trying to enjoy themselves, so I don't want to disturb their day. But you need to seriously think about that, Daniel. Why would I send that $1,000 check back to you again when God already sent it back to me? Wouldn't that be me trying to circumvent God's will? Oh no, that's not God's will. God had nothing to do with that, right? Wrong. Oh, cringe, cringe. Don't get personal. Don't get personal. No, just polish his stone. Blow sunshine up his ass and tell him, amen, brother. You're in God's good graces. You got the eyes to see. Yeah, you got an eye upgrade and then you lost it. You're the one who was fucking crying over all the people in China that are burning up in these buildings, that they're welding the doors shut on these apartment buildings. You were crying in your videos. Maybe that's why you erased them, so people wouldn't see that you bought into the bullshit. And therefore, your eyes to see were a little bit clouded. Your judgment, your perception wasn't so clear. And that was after you got your eye upgrade, remember? Because I remember when you got your eye upgrade, same time I got mine. Apparently something's changed. Are we following the same spirit, you and I? Because in your most recent video, you talked about how the Bible says When you reach the house where the man has the pitcher of water, and you refer that to the age of Aquarius, that's astrotheology. Where do you draw the line of distinction? Was it a real guy that died on a cross for our sins? Or do you pick and choose where the book is astrotheology and where it's real? Are we following the same spirit, Daniel? Have you lost your way? Potty alert! Are you leading people? And what are you leading them to?